Y'all keep screaming, women back then were better, but let's be real. Men back then were just better at getting away with their bull.
There's no amount of dinners that you will ever buy for me that will get my panties off.
What women actually want is a man who does not want a relationship with them.
I think some women just don't realize it either because it's the way they've been conditioned. Like a man has to do all these things for you consistently, and you don't have to give that much energy.
Pretty wild to think that it hasn't been, but I don't know, maybe 40, maybe 50 years tops, where women had some semblance of autonomy. And when I'm saying some semblance of autonomy, they had the ability to work, have their own bank accounts, have driver's license, be able to have 401ks, pensions, buy homes on their own, move freely throughout the world, throughout the country on their own at the very least. Have budding careers, get an education, go into the field that they got the education in, get their master's, so on and so forth. Like, it hasn't been that long. It's been but 50 years, right? Ish, somewhere around there. For all those things, it's been less time than that. But even if you want to go back to when it kind of started, right? But anyways, and in that time, women have grown further apart from men. When I say women have grown further apart, they're just by way of their independence, they have naturally been distanced. But there's naturally been more distance between women and men. It's not because women don't like men. It's not because women don't want to be with men or whatever the case may be. Women don't want to be with these men. They don't want to be with men in our current state. The concept of men or of man, yes, women still like the concept of man. I think that's a natural thing, by the way. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think nature set it up in that way, that the vast majority of women want to be with a man, or want to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just want to be with the man. They want to have a companion. They want to have a partner, and they want it to be a male, right? Let's say that for this discussion. We're talking cishet strictly right now. Sorry to all my LGBTQIA folks. Love y'all. But most women want to be with the man. The problem is they want men to be humans. That's the problem. That's the disconnect. Women want men to be humans. Men are not humans. So therefore, women aren't interested in these men. I think that's the caveat we got to start adding to this discussion. And I don't mean we. When I say we, I'm talking about men. When I'm having this discussion, I'm going to start saying it that way because I want men to understand that we can be better and we have control over it. It is really our choice, our daily decisions that are leading women further and further away from men. And of course, I don't blame them. It makes perfect fucking sense because at this point, it's just all about self-preservation. When we listen to women talk about their dating experiences and we listen to men talk about their dating experiences, it is night and day. The way that we describe what we are seeing. I know what men want out of women. I know that's what I do. I'm the man whisperer, right? I'm the red pill whisperer, as it were. I know exactly what the men are actually looking for and what they are actually saying, when you get through their coded language. And so I want to do that right now. I'm going to break down the ways in which men talk about dating and then talk about what they want from women or what they expect from women and what it really means. So the other day I was on a live and this man was talking about how modern women aren't grateful for the things that men do to them. And then some other jackass got up there and said modern women aren't grateful for what men do for them nowadays. And that sent off like alarm bells in my brain because I was like, what do you mean they're not grateful? What does it look like to be grateful? And I know what it looks like to be grateful. I know what men are saying when they say that. I know the language I know what they're trying to communicate without saying the quiet. They can't say the quiet part out loud because the jig is up once they do that. But they use this coded language. They talk like this, right?
Fascinating to me how women will discount your labor. If you pay for something for a woman, you're giving her your labor. If you go out and take her on a date and it costs $100, you basically have slaved for her for 10 hours if you earn $10 an hour. Now the question is, would she slave for you for 10 hours or even 1 hour?
Now, The answer to that is, yeah, women slave for men all the time. We literally want women to be our slaves, and marriage is pretty much all about that. Even just relationships, it doesn't matter. Having kids with a woman, yeah, we turn women into slaves all the time. We turn women into our slaves every day, and women do slave for men. Women slave for men in the workplace too, without it even being your romantic partner. Women do the unpaid labor, like cleaning the microwaves, changing the coffee filters, things of that nature. That's the type of shit women do at work. And that is whether they work with, when they work with men or not. A lot of times they're working with a lot of men, and they're doing that because, let's face it, if you're working in an office full of women, that wouldn't really be a problem that a woman would need. Like, one woman would need to take care of. It would just be like a communal thing where all the women are doing it. But when you work in an office space and the woman is a minority in that space, oh yeah, definitely women are slaves to men. You know what I'm saying? Like, even, and it's not even like they look at it like that or whatever, but that's ultimately what it is at the end of the day. So that's first and foremost, women do slave for men way more than men slave for women. But secondly, in his scenario, the 10 hours, $100 shit, sir, if the date is $100 and you both ate, how is that $100 that you spent on her? How is it $100 you spent on her? You didn't eat, you didn't drink, right? And y'all be talking about the 50-50. Okay, cool. So at worst it's 50-50, but it's $50, right? At worst, but more than likely you spent more money because usually men eat more and so on and so forth. But let's talk about the money she spends to get ready for the date. And before you say, I don't care about your wigs, elashes, you do. You do. When you talk to her, she had all that shit on. So there it goes. She spends money on makeup. She spends money on getting her hair done. Her products cost more. You know what I'm saying? Because she's a woman. The pink tax is a real thing. So yeah, there's that. Her spraying on perfume, her 3 spritz of perfume is worth, $2 or whatever, however you want to slice it up, man. But women spend a lot more money than we do to get ready for the date. Paying for the date kind of, to me, mitigates a little bit of that. That's a part of it as well. Thirdly, what he is talking about ultimately is he is trying to get women to, it's all about a transactional relationship at this point. It's not about reciprocity necessarily, right? Because again, reciprocity is you both got to go out on a date. You enjoy her company, she enjoys your company. That's the reciprocity, right? Instead, it comes down to how much money you spend. You dig what I'm saying? Again, I almost missed this part. If we're talking about labor, how much longer did it take her to get ready for the date than your bald-headed ass? 15 minutes for you to get ready for the date. For her, it took her 2 hours. If she liked you, and I would think she would like you, to go out on a date with you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. But that's what it is. It's they mask this thing. They want it to be a one-to-one, a pay for play. Like, well, if I'm giving you some money, you should be giving me. And then they, whatever. At this point, he's saying labor. But what labor are you talking about? See how what's labor? What do you mean? You guys are out on a day. You want her to cook for you? You wouldn't expect a woman, even though that one dude did expect that woman who he wasn't even with to clean up after him and her after a dinner that he cooked in his house. But whatever, we'll put that to the side. So you expecting her to wash your car for you? You expecting her to wash your clothes for you? What labor are you talking about specifically? Right? He left that part vague for a reason.
A lot of times I'm finding ways to make you happy, just constantly. Okay, let me be more creative. Let me do this. Let me take out on more dates. Let me do a different date. So it's always, how can I help you? How can I help you? But then it took time for me to sit back and be like, let me just chill and see what she's doing for me in this relationship. And then when you sit back and realize, this bitch don't know nothing. She always coming to you for something. Or always want you to fix something. Color. You know what I'm saying? It's simple shit.
Damn.
It's like, nah, I'm good on that. Like, you clearly not here for me like you say you are, or like you think you are. But sometimes, again, and this is not every woman, of course, but I think some women just don't realize it either, because it's the way they've been conditioned. Like, a man has to do all these things for you consistently, and you don't have to give that much energy. But I think if you really like a man, then naturally you would do things to make him happy. But,
Exactly. Those things, again, same thing. What is he talking about specifically? When he described what he does for his woman to make her happy, it was vague as well. It was, oh, you know, I think about different dates and you know, things like that. Like, what do you, okay. And then the things that she asked him, he was vague, but it was little stuff. Like what? You mean around the house? Like, what are you talking about? You mean like in the house both of you live in? Fix little things? What are you talking about? Things around the house that you both live in? What are you talking about? It's very vague, very coded. What these men, both of these men, what they are speaking of, what they are talking about is sex. That's what it is. That's all it is. He is a man. Both of these dudes are just men who are saying, if I pay for X, Y, and Z, if I do the honey-do list, right? If I, you know, whatever it is, if I'm completing the honey-do list, then I deserve sex. And when women don't give me sex on command, not doing enough labor or whatever the case may be, I feel some type of way. And I'm like, oh yeah, nah, shawty, you don't deserve my presence no more. It doesn't, when he talked about helping her out, he didn't really actually say anything that would help her out. Listen, hold on. I'm just going to go back to the first part. What did he describe that actually helps her out?
A lot of times I'm finding ways to make you happy, just constantly. Okay, let me be more creative. Let me do this. Let me take out on more dates. Let me do a different date. So it's always, how can I help you? How can I help you? But then it took time for me to sit back and be like, let me just chill and see what she's doing for me in this relationship.
Help you what? That's what I'm saying. First he said he was making her more happy, but then he said help her. Help her to be happy, or like, but what do you mean? And then when he described what she wanted out of him, it was an actual like task. You see what I'm saying? He didn't actually say how he didn't talk about doing any labor. Taking her out on a date is not a labor. It's not a chore to take your woman out on a date. It's not a chore to be creative, and that's not a chore. It's not a task. You dig what I'm saying? It ain't even a one-to-one, but he, in his mind, he's like, oh, if I take her out on a date, she shouldn't ask me. How is she still expecting me to do shit for her in our relationship and around the home? Because the thing he was describing, like it sounded like he was describing a honey-do list. Like, oh, fix little things. You mean like door handles and shit? Nigga, yeah, do that. Get on that shit. What the fuck? I'm not saying that's your job, but that might be your job. And the reason why that falls in the laps of men is because men often aren't doing the same amount of labor in the home as the women do. Like, I remember one day talking to my wife about this, and I was talking about how I take out the trash. And my wife was like, yeah, that's like the one thing that I don't do. And I hate doing it. You know what I'm saying? She was like, but I do everything else. And I was like, you're right. My wife washes dishes more than me. She washes clothes more than, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this, I don't remember the conversation we were having, but we weren't arguing. It wasn't like I was like throwing that in her face. We were just discussing like our task or whatever. And I think I was just describing like some of the things that I do more than her or whatever. And I mentioned that, and she was like, yeah, do you know why? You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, that's a good point. You know, like my wife doesn't pump her gas anymore. Like I pump my wife's gas. She doesn't go to a gas station, but my wife does she does way more shit than me in the home. She does way more shit than me in the home. And most women do way more shit than their men in the home. So you doing the honey-do list, that's what you're supposed to be doing. It still doesn't even offset all the labor she's doing on the day-to-day, because your honey-do list is once a week at best. Or at worst, I should say. At best, it's once a month. You know what I'm saying? Once in a blue moon. It's random. It's sparse. It's not even on schedule. It's like, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, seems like something crops up or whatever. But what he was describing when he was talking about helping her was taking her out on more dates. Interesting. And then he didn't actually say what he was expecting back. But if you listen, if you read between the lines, what these motherfuckers are talking about is sex. That woman's body. And this is what they don't get about that mind frame. This is what they don't understand, or what they don't want to understand.
There's no amount of dinners that you will ever buy for me that will get my panties off. So you really need to figure out what it is that you think you have to offer and what it is that you think I value, because it's never going to happen without real investment. And that's not what you do. And I get that that's satisfactory for some others, but it's not enough for me. And that was the last time we had brunch. I don't know what to tell you, bro. That's why I was like, I've been here. So you can tell me I'm great all you want, but you're not pursuing me, and I know why. Because I require too much. And that's all right. I'm okay with that.
What do you mean by that, though? What do you mean what do you require?
Are these niggas that dumb, or am I tripping? Did you not hear what she just said? Am I tripping? She literally said what she required. This nigga, what do you, he's shocked. That's what I'm saying. When you listen to men, like, men be really shocked that they just can't buy your love. They can't buy the draws off of you. Y'all got to stop listening to men. Y'all been listening to men for too long. They've been telling you, oh man, if you build it, they'll come. If you got the money, the draws is going to fall and da-da-da-da-da. And it's just not true. There's a bunch of, I forgot her name, and I love her. She's a sister of the twins, the T and Tamara. I forget her name. No, I'm sorry. I know her last name, Maori, whatever, but I forget her name. I'm sorry. I don't want to be disrespectful. But there are a bunch of hers and a bunch of Ebony K. Williams, and I don't mean money-wise, but I'm talking about mentality. There are a bunch of women out here that aren't interested in subpar men who are unwilling to meet the bare minimum of treating a woman like a human being, having integrity, and doing more than providing for them financially or taking them out on dates. That is that disconnect that I'm talking about between men and women. That shit is getting wider and wider and wider and wider because of men's belief that that is how you get a woman, is by just manipulating her.
I require discipline and intention. And I require a level of like investment in terms of time.
I mean, the shit ain't rocket science. They was acting like the thing she said was so, she was like, nigga. I hope they listen, but I'm sure they didn't hear a goddamn word she said. But instead of men listening to women tell them that directly, like exactly what she's expecting, they would rather listen to men like this.
Women do not actually want a top 1% high status, high value man. What women actually want is a man who does not want a relationship with them. Let me explain. As soon as you want a relationship with her, as soon as you want to date her, as soon as she knows that you really like her, all you've done is made hypergamy less satisfied. Since women naturally only want what they can't have, they are constantly in this state where they are pursuing men who they think have higher perceived value on the dating market than they currently do. Here's what that means for you. As soon as you're won over too easy, she doubts your value. As soon as you want to commit too quickly, she doubts your value. As soon as you actually desire and crave to have something real in your life, such as a relationship or a long-term relationship or a girlfriend, she doubts your value. Women only want the strongest men that they can find, and here's what that means. That means you as a man at all times, you have to actually have the ability and the emotional fortitude to be alone. As soon as she sees that you're happy with your life when you're alone, now this is a world that she potentially wants to come into. If you click the link in my bio, I made
those aren't the same things. You trying to tell men that they should be content in their own life is fine. That's fine. You saying that women don't want the top 1% of men, that's also fine. I get that. But telling men that women want what they can't have, that is a manipulation tactic. That's not true. It's like he sandwiched two truths. You know, he put the bullshit in the middle of two truths. And that's how these motherfuckers get away with that shit, because that's very misleading to a dummy who doesn't know, right? To a dummy who doesn't know, yeah, you're right. Women don't give a fuck about meeting the top. And I'll take that back. I'm going to talk about this at another time, another day. But women actually do want the top 1% of men. But what men think is the top 1% of men and what women think is the top 1% of men are two totally different things, right? And I'm not even saying women think of these men as top 1% of men. That's not how they view them. I'm just saying that in essence or in reality, the men that they want are indeed actually 1% of men. There's only like 1% of men who actually meet that criteria. It's not their fault that only 1% of men meet that criteria, but it's only like 1% of men meet that criteria. Like the other lady was saying in the video prior to this one, when she was saying that I want a man with fortitude, I want a man that is consistent, I want a man that's intentional, I want a man with integrity. What percentage of men meet all of that criteria? I'll wait. About 1%. That's way more. I mean, it's way easier for you to find a man that make $100,000 a year than it is for you to find a man that meets that criteria. It's damn near impossible to find a man that meets both of them. And ultimately, this is why we keep running up against this large group of men that are pushing this idea, that are romanticizing the women of the past, because of the situation of the women of the past.
Y'all keep screaming women back then were better, but let's be real. Men back then were just better at getting away with their bull. I'm Jacob Riante. I'm a dating coach. And ladies, it don't matter if the men don't get it. This message is for you. Let's go deeper. Y'all think women back in the day were happier? They weren't happier. They were just silenced. A lot of grandmothers weren't in love. They were in survival mode. They smiled through the pain, played their role, and died with secrets so dark they took them to the grave. Meanwhile, grandpa got to live his life how he wanted. Cheat when he wanted, come home when he wanted, and still got called the head of the household. You ever ask yourself why so many old school marriages lasted 40 to 50 years, but grandma never looked happy? Y'all think that's because marriage was better back then? Nah, it's because back then leaving a man wasn't an option. Women didn't stay because they wanted to. They stayed because they were trapped. Couldn't open a bank account, couldn't buy a credit card, couldn't get a house, couldn't leave without being blackballed by the church, family, or society. And let's talk about these so-called good men y'all love to bring up. The ones who took care of the household. The ones who paid the bills. You mean the same men who had entire secret families, the same men who left their wives at home while they ran the street, the same men who made sure their name was on every single asset. So if she left with nothing. That's what y'all want a woman to go back to? Y'all keep screaming about modern women who don't submit like that's the problem. No, the real issue is that modern women finally have the power to say no. And that scares y'all to death. Y'all don't want wives. Y'all want hostages. Y'all don't want love. Y'all want an audience. Y'all don't want partners. Y'all want prisoners. That's why y'all are panicking now. That's why y'all crying on the internet every day about how women don't need men anymore. Nah, it ain't that women don't need men. It's that they don't need to suffer just to have one. And that's the part y'all can't handle. So let's call it what it really is. Y'all don't miss traditional women. You miss unchecked male privilege. You miss a time when a man could cheat, lie, and abandon their family with zero consequences.
Rape and beat as well. Throw that in there.
You miss where women were forced to stay no matter how bad it got. That's why y'all work overtime to convince women that the past was better. Because y'all know that if grandma had the rights and the resources that women have today, she would have left grandpa's butt too. Before you run to the comments saying women today don't want to be wives, ask yourself, would you want your mother and grandmother to go through the exact same marriage she had all over again? Would you want your sister to stay with a man who cheats, lies, and disrespects her because she has no other choice? Exactly. Now shut up and sit with that. And ladies, don't let these men trick you into settling for struggle, because they know dang well if grandma had the freedom you have today, she wouldn't have put up with their bull either.
He took what everybody be saying and he synthesized it and put it into a perfect video, into a great epic rant. But that's what it is when you sum it up. And that's why these men, they keep trying to do all these little tactics and stuff like that. Like, oh, these women don't appreciate me taking them out on dates. They don't appreciate me spending $100 on a date. You know, that's 10 hours of my labor. Will you labor for me? Will you do? It's always about getting women to get back into that, take women back to this day and age when a man could take a woman out on a date or 2 or 3 dates, and all he had to do to get her was go to her daddy after that and ask for her hand in marriage. And he'd go, okay. Yeah, you can have my 16-year-old daughter. I know you're 33. Absolutely. That's what it was. That's what it was. That was the issue. Yeah. And that's what that's what men are not saying out loud. They're trying to mask and they're trying to hide that shit. And they doing these little tactics, and they're using all these, trying to learn these little manipulation tactics about manipulating a woman with money or taking her out on dates. You can't do it. Like the woman said, you can't buy the box, man. They can take themselves out on a bunch of dates, and that shit pisses y'all off. That shit pisses y'all off. When you're doing the things that your granddaddy did to get your grandmama, but the women nowadays ain't going for it, you crashing out. You blaming them. Oh, she ain't there for me. Shawty ain't there for me. She don't know how to show up for me. Nigga, what? I started to ask, like, what is she really doing for me? You mean washing your dirty ass drawers, doing all the emotional labor in the relationship, you know, making sure all the bills get paid, making sure your ass wake up on time to go to work, making sure you got a lunch, making sure you eating dinner, making sure your kids is fed. But what is she doing for you? The same shit your granny was doing for your granddaddy. The same shit. But you ain't paying all the bills. Instead, you trying to get by on taking her out on a few dates. Oh man, I swear, man, you motherfuckers is useless.